We are incredibly happy to have today's guest on the show. He is a Ring of Honor superstar whose beard is only rivaled by, well, probably mine. You can see him wrestle live for Northeast Wrestling. He's going to be all over the Northeast. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Warbeard. Warbeard, how are you doing today?
I'm great. You?
Oh, this is fantastic. We're getting pumped. You've got some amazing stuff coming up that we're going to get into today. But we do the show a lot. We're based on the East Coast, so we know that a lot of people that listen to us have seen you before. But today we're going to try to get some background and some information about you for some of the people that probably haven't got to see you yet. So, do you think we can do that today? You think we can get some of your background of your career?
Yeah, of course.
Warbeard, man, thanks for joining us again. I'm Steve. When was the first time you watched pro wrestling? I mean, do you remember? Is there a moment that goes back in time that you're like, you kind of just remember in your childhood?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, when I was really young, I wasn't a fan of wrestling at all. I had a friend who was a big fan of it, and I thought it was stupid, and how could you watch that? It's so silly. And then Monday Night Raw hit, and I happened to be flipping through the stations, and here's that stuff my friend likes. Let me watch a minute of it. And I saw the 1-2-3 Kid beat Razor Ramon, and I haven't stopped watching since.
That's awesome. You mentioned 1-2-3 Kid Razor Ramon. I guess that's a good a split there. One of them was what they call, good guy, bad guy, whatever. Did you find when you started watching wrestling that you were drawn towards like one set of superstars over another? Like, did you like the bad guys? Did you like the good guys? Who did you like?
When I was a kid, I was all about the underdogs. Like, and just that example, the 1-2-3 Kid who pulled out that victory, that was, so amazing to me. I loved it. And then it was guys like Marty Jannetty and guys like Aldo Montoya, and I was a big fan of Aldo Montoya when I was a kid. So like all the underdogs, I was just a huge fan of. I mean, as I grew older, my tastes changed, but when I was a kid, I was all about the underdogs.
Sure. Now you mentioned you didn't like it that much when you were growing up, but when you started to like it, was there a point that you're like, I need to become a pro wrestler? Growing up, you're like, this is what I want to do.
Oh no, it was that moment. It was the moment that the 1-2-3 Kid pinned Razor Ramon. I said, I'm doing that.
Awesome.
So it was and it hooked me to start watching wrestling. It also hooked me like, I'm going to be a professional wrestler. That's it. That's the coolest thing in the world.
That's awesome. Now, were you growing up in high school, were you involved in sports, or did you just go to high school?
If you call, backyard wrestling a sport,
I do.
then you could say yes. I did like freshman football and stuff, and I think in junior year I did some like shot put with track, but I was just all about professional wrestling. It was all that was going through my mind, so that's all I wanted to do. So any way I could do it or be a part of it, even if I was doing the wrong things, I needed to have it. I think a lot of wrestlers talk about it, about wrestling being their drug, and I needed to have it then. I need to have it now, and that's my quote unquote sport that I did when I was in high school. And senior year is when I even started training to be a professional wrestler. So those were my sports. That was it.
All right. So you said you started beginning training for wrestling. Where did you break in? Where did you start training to become a pro wrestler?
Originally, I trained with the NW New England. Their school closed shortly thereafter. I did like 3 months with Bob Evans, and I settled in at the Chaotic Training Center in North Andover, Massachusetts, which later merged with Carol Kowalski's, and we had Walter with us until he passed.
Wow. Now, do you remember your first day of training, your first match? Is there anything that sticks out to you? Was it what you expected as far as wrestling, or were you taken by surprise by what happened?
Well, my first day of training, it was what I expected, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I knew the bumps were going to hurt. I mean, I guess the ropes really surprised me, because the ropes definitely painful. Most places use cables for ropes, so they can be, when you first start hitting them, they are very painful. You bruise up and down your sides, and that caught me off guard. But I was ready for anything, so I was down for it. But everything seemed to make sense to me as far as what to expect. Mm-hmm. I think when I went through the couple schools, then I got to chaotic wrestling, and that was like a huge eye opener for me, because it was when I learned a little bit of it with Bob, but it was when like psychology started to hit in, and footwork and timing, and just wrestling became so much more complicated than I ever could have ever thought or imagined. But it came to me real quick, because it felt natural for me. Probably just because I'm so in love with professional wrestling, and everything felt right. So it was fun to pick up and fun to learn. So those things were very eye opening. I don't know if they were surprising, but just eye opening.
Sure. Now, I'm sure throughout your career you had some moments that were very surreal to you. Do you remember anything offhand that was just that moment that you remember when stepping in the ring with anybody memorable? Or
my first dark match with WWE, I wrestled Brian Black, who had just gotten signed. He ended up becoming Palmer Cannon on SmackDown, the network executive. Mm-hmm. So I wrestled him at the Fleet Center in Boston. First match of the night, and just being behind the curtain. And I don't know if you guys remember it, but the Lonely Road of Faith music video, the Kid Rock music video, that they used to play before every single event, that played right before we came to the curtain for that match. And we're watching it from behind the Titantron, so we're watching everything backwards. But to be there, to look up and see that and feel that moment, it was so surreal. It still gives me goosebumps to think about it.
Now, you mentioned Aldo Montoya was a big, part of your career. Was there a time? Have you gotten to wrestle Justin Credible since then?
I was actually scheduled to wrestle him I was scheduled to wrestle him 2 years ago. Even did an angle where he came out and he caned me, and it never ended up coming to fruition. And then literally like 3 months ago, I was scheduled to wrestle him again, and he got an ankle injury and wasn't able to do it. So I'm still hoping. Same with like X-Pac, Once Through Kid. I'd love to wrestle him. And I haven't had the opportunity, so I'm just cross my fingers and hope and pray. I think that would be just a complete dream come true.
Definitely. Now, you've been pretty busy as of late, wrestling for both Ring of Honor and Northeast Wrestling. Right before we talk about Northeast Wrestling, I just want to get your thoughts on Ring of Honor debuting on Destination America. A lot more eyes on Ring of Honor right now. And also, right before TNA airs on the same channel. What are your thoughts about being, not, I guess, like a friendly competition going on, maybe with Ring of Honor and TNA being on the same channel? I don't remember the last time that this has happened as of late, but I mean, now, it's got a lot of people talking and a lot more eyes on you. And any thoughts of, any talk about, amongst you and any other wrestlers about, the move over there too?
Well, I mean, as far as TNA goes, I don't, and maybe it's just me personally, but I don't feel like we're in any type of competition with TNA. It doesn't feel. I mean, we're different time slots. We are on the same station. I would think, in theory, if both TV shows do well, then we're doing good. So I don't feel like we're in competition at all. If we had the same time slots, then maybe, but I don't feel that way at all. It's a really exciting time to be a part of Ring of Honor, and I feel like ever since I started with Ring of Honor a year and a half ago, ever since I started, I've always said the same thing. This is a really exciting time to be with Ring of Honor. but it is, and a month, every single month, it's like something new's happening, and we're getting bigger, and our crowds are growing, and here comes New Japan, and then New Japan's going to take a bunch of guys from Ring of Honor over there, like the Kingdom, to work over there, and then we do the Field of Honor coming up, where we're in the baseball stadium, and more New Japan guys are coming over, and here's Destination America. Oh, here's a live pay-per-view. It feels like it keeps going up and up and up and up and up. So it's really exciting. And Destination America, this big TV deal. And then in New England, if you don't have Destination America, we're on Nessun on Sunday nights at 8:00. So we're hitting so many new viewers, and it's just so exciting.
With Ring of Honor being as popular as it is, we know. We've talked to people at the Figures Toy Company. They're actually going to start producing a Ring of Honor wrestling figure line. Is there any talk with you so far about getting your own action figure?
No talk so far. I mean, I don't know how quickly they're going to be able to turn these things around. I know the original figures were announced almost at least a year ago, and they're still in production. So I don't know who the next line's going to be, but I do know they're really cool. I know I've seen the headshots and stuff, and some of the body mold casting. So they look like they're really cool figures. And I mean, I remember when the ECW figures came out, how cool that was. And I feel like this is such a similar situation to see Ring of Honor now throwing out their own figures. So I'm hoping the first batch does well, which I'm sure it will. They'll start producing a lot more at a lot quicker rate. So I'm sure I'll be in line.
Sure. Now, like I said, you're with Ring of Honor, but especially Northeast Wrestling. Let's talk about some upcoming Northeast Wrestling matches. You have 3 tough matches ahead of you with 3 totally different wrestlers. First off, at Wrestling Under the Stars in Fishkill, you will be facing Northeast Wrestling champion Matt Taven. What are your thoughts on Matt Taven?
Matt Taven is an egotistical jerk. Little known fact, and I think you guys have already talked to Matt, so I don't know if he's mentioned this, but we actually went to high school together. Wow. So I've known Matt for a very, very long time. But nothing pleases me more than to get into the ring with him and completely kick his ass. Because he's the type of person who you just want to punch in the face. And so for some reason, fans end up liking him. It's probably because he's athletic. But man, I'm an ass kicker, and that's what I do. So I'm excited to step in the ring with Matt and hopefully take the NEW championship.
All right. Well, that would be an awesome thing to put up on your mantle, or even take to your next high school reunion to kind of shove it in his face. But the next match is the one that I'm like totally excited about. Lowell, Massachusetts, you're taking on somebody who's making huge strides in professional wrestling these days, Samoa Joe. If you end up winning against Samoa Joe, what do you think that does for your career at that moment?
It's going to be huge. I don't plan to lose. Okay, if we can just say when I beat Samoa Joe.
So let me rephrase that. When you beat Samoa Joe, what happens to your career at that point?
Yeah, man, I don't know. It's going to be a big moment, and big things are got to come from it. But to take a step back, just talk about the match. I mean, for me, it's a dream match. I think for the fans, with our styles and our looks and so many similarities, it's definitely a dream match. And then you can reel it back to when Samoa Joe first started popping back up on the Indies, popping back up on Ring of Honor. He went on Chris Jericho's podcast, and the one name he mentioned, a guy he wants to face now that he's free from TNA, was Warbeard Hanson. So even the dream match for Samoa Joe. I'm nothing short of excited and thrilled for this, and I think the fans are too. And if there's one thing you're going to see, if it's Samoa Joe and Hanson, it is hard hitting and ass kicking.
All right. And then also, lastly, you're going to be facing quite the character, Dalton Castle at Bethany, Connecticut. Any thoughts on Dalton Castle as of late in Ring of Honor too?
I mean, Dalton's getting real big in Ring of Honor right now. There's no denying how flamboyant he is and how eye-catching he is. He's so different and unique, and I mean, his entrance is something to behold. But this is going to be a much different match for me than I've had. I can't remember last time I had to wrestle a character quite like Dalton Castle, probably because there isn't one. So this is going to be a real test of my creativity and his, and I can only imagine it's going to be a hard-fought battle. Dalton, really cool things about Dalton are his amateur background in athletics. At one point, he was an alternate for the Olympic team, so this guy can go. He's a machine. And you wouldn't think so with the way that he acts and the way that he dresses and his whole big, elaborate entrance and the way that he acts in the ring, but he's legit. So this will be my first time stepping in the ring with him, so I really can't wait.
All right.
Now, we just mentioned you're going to be facing in just a shorter period of time Matt Taven, Samoa Joe, and Dalton Castle. Now, how do you go about like mentally to prepare for three completely different opponents?
Well, I think for me, I don't change my training methods at all. When I'm doing something, I'm sticking to it, and that's what I'm doing, despite who I'm wrestling. Mindset, though, I have to go into each match with a completely different mindset. And I can't really prepare ahead of time for that because I'll be mixing everything up. So I'm going to have to be really the day before, focusing and figuring out how I want to have my mindset going into it. But right now, I'm just focused on being the best professional wrestler that I can be. When the time comes, I'll just switch my mental focus to kicking whether it's Matt Taven's ass, Samoa Joe's ass, or Dalton Castle's ass.
All right. Now, you are known for your facial hair, hence Warbeard, but who do you think has the best facial hair in pro wrestling besides yourself?
I'd say besides myself. Well, I'm just going to say Ray Rowe.
All right.
All right.
That's the best answer I can make, right?
Yeah.
War Machine.
That's right. Now, you just mentioned War Machine, Ring of Honor. You're in the tag team. What I guess what I want to say is we talked about dream matches with Samoa Joe, but what dream tag team match would you have against War Machine?
Oh, wow. Any wrestling tag team of all time?
Of all time.
Wow. So I might just say Marty Jannetty, the 1, 2, 3 Kid. Gee, I think we just wrestled the Bucks. I think the Rockers would have been amazing to wrestle. I feel like we do real cool things when wrestling smaller guys. But then again, step in the ring with LOD or step in the ring with Demolition. I think just the visual alone is amazing. I think it'd be one hell of a draw.
Sure. Now, we mentioned you've been in a lot of different promotions. Are there any other promotions that you haven't set foot in that you want the name Warbeard to be represented in? Any other future companies that you're thinking of?
I mean, Rowan and I have our sights hopefully on PWG. It's a really hot promotion right now in California, and I know we'd love to wrestle there. And there's some other indies across the country that'd be great to go to and get opportunities there. And Ray and I want to focus on trying to get ourselves overseas somehow, whether it's Japan or England or somewhere in Europe, and even crossing the border down to Mexico. Things that we haven't done that we want to expand and show the world who we are. And I mean, a lot of help right now with Ring of Honor, getting ourselves out there in magazines, on national TV, all over the internet. And we want to just spread our appearances out across the entire world.
Sounds good.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned your time in WWE. You had a few dark matches, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this. But if WWE NXT comes calling within a year or so, Are you ready to make the move down there, or do you feel like that you would like to spend some more time really, honing your craft, or maybe you're happy with what you're doing right now? Or would you like to go down there?
I guess I would have to see where I'm at, how things are going. I love Ring of Honor right now. I love the growth, the creativity, the freedom. We just keep growing, and it's like I said it before, it's a really exciting time to be a part of it. I wouldn't say no, I'm not going to go to NXT. I have to see how it all pans out, but it's definitely on my radar.
Sure. Now, do you have any goals in pro wrestling? I mean, is there a Warbeard 5-year plan, or are you just kicking ass, taking names, and seeing where the road takes you, kind of thing?
I think the ultimate goal is probably to not break my neck.
There you go.
Awesome.
That might be the ultimate goal. And I say it jokingly, but I'm half serious. I've spent so much time in my career out on different injuries. I mean, most recently I had major shoulder surgery that I thought was the end of my career, and I somehow salvaged it and grew this beard, and I've made it to Ring of Honor, and I feel like I'm kicking ass all over the place. So it might have been a blessing in disguise, but injuries are always a fear, I think, for every one of us. So staying healthy is really a major goal. If I can stay healthy, then the sky's the limit. So,
all right. Well, I think, as to steal a line from my my partner here, Steve, we just scratched the surface on Warbeard Hanson tonight. We know that you're very busy. You're preparing for a lot of shows coming up. But lastly, do you have any closing words for your opponents at NEW? We know they're going to be listening to this, so now's your time to let them know what they're got themselves into.
Yeah, Matt Taven, NEW heavyweight champion. He's a piece of garbage. He's an egotistical jerk, and I'm gonna make him meet my spinning heel kick. Samoa Joe, dream match for so many. I think going into this, I'm the underdog, and by the time the match is over, Samoa Joe will be looked upon as the underdog. And then Dalton Castle, Pro Wrestling's Peacock. I'm going to pluck each and every one of his feathers out and show them exactly where they belong.
All right, guys, we will see Warbeard at August 1st, Northeast Wrestling's Wrestling Under the Stars in Fishkill, Duchess Stadium. Warbeard, thank you so much for joining us, and we really appreciate your time, and we look forward to speaking with you in the future.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Joining us today is a friend of Another Wrestling Podcast. He is wrestling all over the world, and he's not only a mainstay in Northeast Wrestling, but he's also the heavyweight champion. If you don't know him yet, don't worry, you will real soon. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Matt Taven. Matt, how you doing today, man?
Hello. I'm good, and you know what? If they don't know me, then they obviously haven't been listening to your podcast, because I've been on before.
That's right.
So, I mean, if you don't know who I am, then you're a jerk and listen to the podcast.
Absolutely. Now, we've got a lot of things to talk about, but first, we have to get into business here. You'll be defending the coveted Northeast Wrestling Championship on August 1st at Duchess Stadium at Wrestling Under the Stars against a man-beast by the name of Warbeard Hanson. We've already spoke to Warbeard. He's got some stuff to say, but what are your thoughts about going into this match? Do you have to kind of fix your strategy because he's a different kind of opponent, or what are you going to be doing in this match?
Well, I know Warbeard very well. I actually went to high school with the Warbeard, so I know him when he had no beard, when he was no Warbeard Hanson, when he was just I don't know, clean-shaven Hanson. So I'm very, very familiar when it comes to this opponent, which makes for a good match because both of us know each other really well, and you kind of have to change a bit of the game when you know someone like that, and pull out some stuff that they're not going to be ready for. And me and Hanson had a pretty good rivalry going in Bethany, Connecticut for Northeast Wrestling not too long ago. So it'll be nice to get back in the ring and show the crowd at Dutchess Stadium, and a big crowd it will be, what two boys from the little state of New Hampshire have to offer the wrestling world.
Definitely. And now, win, lose, or draw the very next night in Lowell, Massachusetts, for Northeast Wrestling, you will turn around and wrestle with the rest of your stable, the Kingdom, and take on the most talked about tag teams today, the Young Bucks. Do you think the Kingdom is a better tag team than the Young Bucks?
Is a 5-pound Robin fat? Of course the Kingdom is a better tag team than the Young Bucks. I mean, no disrespect to Young Bucks, but they're junior heavyweights. The Kingdom's heavyweights. So I plan to just lie on top of them, and our body weight alone should take the W in that match.
Awesome. Now, speaking of tag teams, who are some of the tag teams that you would like to face that you haven't got to face so far? And then who are some of your favorite tag teams that you've got to mix it up with, Ben?
Well, I mean, I think right off the top of my head, it's probably easier to say the tag teams that we've, wrestled with. And the Young Bucks would probably be at top of the list. Obviously, want to say goofy things about them and make fun of them, but to be serious, they're exactly what you said. They're the most talked about tag team. It's for a reason, because they're extremely good. And we've had the opportunity to be in the ring with them a couple times, and we've never lost to them. But they're, I think when the Kingdom and the Young Bucks get in the ring together, I think everyone knows they're going to see one hell of a show, and that's exactly what happens every time we do. Another team that's awesome that we've had the privilege to be in the ring with is Team Tremendous, which is, Bill Carr and Dan Barry, and two guys that, like to have fun in the wrestling world like me and Michael, but at the same time can get down in the ring. Teams that we would like to wrestle. I mean, we've been going around the gamut. We've been wrestling people all around the world. I'm trying to think of a team that we haven't wrestled. Do you have suggestions for me? Who would you guys like to see us wrestle?
I think that we just saw some you guys face the Addiction. I'm thinking the team of Dirty Heels, maybe Austin Aries and Bobby Roode would be a good one.
True. That is a good. We have not. Oh, you know what? And speaking of them, we have never faced the Wolves.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, me and Mike have faced Davey and Eddie in singles competitions, but we've never faced them as a team. And Eddie Edwards, a good friend of mine, but also one of my favorite opponents of all time. So I think if you put the four of us in the ring together, there'll be another match like us in the Young Bucks one that you definitely need to seek out to find and watch and tell all your friends and spread the word and tweet about it and whatever you crazy kids do these days. You'd have to do that about that match.
All right. Well, you spent a lot of time this year, too, in Japan with Mike Bennett and Maria Kanellis, even winning, like you said earlier, the IWGP tag titles. What's some of the biggest differences between wrestling in Japan and wrestling in America, if you had to just name a few?
The obvious difference is that respect. The respect level that the crowd and the fans show the wrestlers in Japan. In America, like a lot of the fans, they almost think that they're the show and they want to be part of it. And I love when, fans are excited about matches. But you see, way too many times fans almost take away from the match because they think that they're so, cute and whatever they think they are. I don't know, dorks. And they want to, get my chant over. That makes no sense. And I'll just keep yelling it until someone pays attention to me while guys are in the ring, busting their ass. So in Japan, you see that respect for the wrestlers. I mean, it's pretty obvious from watching any Japanese wrestling that you kind of have some quietness and then some applause. Where here in America, they're just, heckling and screaming the whole time, which is fun in some cases. In other cases, it's the most annoying thing you could imagine. But Japan also, after the match, I mean, the amount of respect that the people show you and the appreciation that they have And just, how big and passionate of wrestling fans they are is a major difference between here and the States. You leave a show in Japan and, you would think you're the Beatles by the way people react to you. You leave a show here and you're wondering if, you're going to have to fight a fan or if they're going to spit on you or something.
All right.
Now, I don't want to, you know how I feel about the Kingdom, but I have to bring this up. The Kingdom recently lost to the Bullet Club on July 5th. Will we see a rematch for that anytime soon?
Well, the Kingdom is returning to Japan on the end of the last 3 dates of the G1. Now, from everything I've learned from watching wrestling my entire life, is that if you lose a belt, you are automatically granted a rematch.
Yes.
Now, this is just simple wrestling logic to me. It's just like, you always aim for the Spanish announce table. So I'm assuming that within those 3 days, you'll probably see a rematch. I mean, that's what I want to happen. If I'm going to fly back across the world, I want my belt back. So I'm hoping that, whether it's August 14th, 15th, or 16th, there's another meeting between us and Carl Anderson. Botched Ellen. Rewind. Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows.
Recently, the Kingdom came out with a T-shirt with the slogan "Big in Japan, booed in the USA." Why do you think the Japanese crowd has taken a liking to the Kingdom?
Maria's butt. Next question. No, like I said, there's a lot more respect to guys in Japan. I think the American wrestling fan kind of views me and Mike as the guys who used to shovel them in lockers when they were a kid. And that's probably true. But the Japanese fans don't seem to feel that same kind of jealousy towards us, so they respect us a lot more. And Maria's butt doesn't hurt. So the combination of those two things, I think, has led us to a successful Japanese fan base.
Now, we talked about you being a mainstay in Northeast Wrestling, which is one of the premier independent wrestling companies in the world today. Now, are you happy that after spending a lot of time wrestling all over the world, that you have a home base like Northeast Wrestling to come back to?
Oh, of course. I mean, and I was talking to another one of my just a fellow wrestler the other day, and just telling him about the Northeast shows, and he kind of stopped me and was like, "Wow, you talk about it in such a high regard." And I'm a very loyal person. And before Ring of Honor was on Destination America, before they were on Nessun in the Northeast, before we ever went to Japan, before any Kingdom merch started flying off shelves, Michael Lombardi of Northeast Wrestling believed in me, and he saw what a lot of people see today or saw afterwards before any of those people. And to me, that's I could never repay him for that. He gave me confidence at a time when I needed it, and it doesn't hurt that he puts on one of the best shows, if not the best shows in all of the Northeast. And every year, he draws all these people to these baseball shows, has all sorts of names on it. And through Michael Lombardi, I've been able to step in the ring with legends. I mean, I wrestled Jerry the King Lawler at a Northeast Wrestling show, and that's something, you grow up watching guys like that, and then all of a sudden you're looking at them across the ring, you're like, wow, this is amazing. So Northeast Wrestling, coming back there, it's almost like it's almost like a celebration of everything I've done since the last time I've been there. Yeah, I come there and I almost felt like, we've all done this together. And now, all the family's back together, let's all celebrate my success. So that's how I feel about Northeast Wrestling. Every time I go there, whether it's Bethany or whether it's one of the other bigger shows, that's home. That's like when you leave to college and you come home to a nice cooked meal from your mom. That's what I feel like every time I get back to Northeast Wrestling.
Sure. Now, wrestling, more specifically independent wrestling, is growing more and more in popularity. Why do you think so many people are choosing independent wrestling over mainstream shows?
Well, I mean, it's. I think And I used to say that, and probably in the last interview I said we're in the golden age of the indies, and I think I was completely wrong because it seems like the indies keep growing. So I maybe was a little too soon on that statement. But, people love wrestling, and people are always going to watch the WWE and stuff, but they want other outlets, and you don't have a WCW anymore, something major to compete with WWE that you can flip back and forth on Monday nights like it used to be. So you'll search, other things out. I mean, you can eat ice cream every day and love it, but then you're going to kind of get sick of it, and you're going to kind of see, what else is out there? And luckily we've had the most amount of talent I think there's ever been just floating around out there, whether they're in Ring of Honor or whether they're in TNA or whether they're just strictly on the indies, Dragon Gate, whether they wrestle. There is so much talent outside of WWE. And maybe it's just my lack of knowledge of how the indies were when I was a kid as a wrestling fan for WWE, but it seems like, wow, they're the most talented wrestlers there's ever been. The amount of talented wrestlers is more than it's ever been. So, you like I said, you're eating ice cream every day. Then you're like, I'm going to try something else. And then you see one of these indie shows and you're like, wow, these guys are fantastic. You know what? Maybe I'll eat cake from now on. And I think that's just how it goes. If it wasn't for the talent that's out there, you wouldn't have this indie surge. You wouldn't have things like NXT, which is trying to be, a WWE version of an indie. That's a direct response to how good the talent is, how much talent is out there, and how when people go to these indie shows, whether they're local, whether they're a bigger one like Northeast Wrestling, they see great talent and they get hooked.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. NXT wrestling has become obviously incredibly popular. How do you feel about seeing people that you've wrestled against and are friends with getting an opportunity down in NXT?
Oh, I love it. I mean, I just love. I'm one of those. And wrestling is a very catty, stab you in the back. You don't care who you knock down on your way to the top type business. But for me personally, I think that there's enough space for everyone to succeed. And when you see guys that have been through the indies, their families, that they're out there busting their butts to just have a better life and to just be a wrestler because that's what they've loved all their life, you can't do anything but be happy for them. I was actually I watched Battleground this morning because I missed it last night. And, watching Steen out there is just, I couldn't be happier for him. You know what I mean? Like, to think a year ago, I don't know, he tweeted out it was like a year ago, a couple of days ago, we're all in an ROH ring, celebrating his ROH career. To a year later, he's in the rubber match against John Cena on the pay-per-view. It's like, wow, that's awesome. So yeah, I'm extremely happy for all those guys, and for any of the guys that you see popping up, whether it's NXT or New Japan or this or that. Anyone that's works hard and then sees some success out of it, you have to be happy for it because there is an extremely large amount of guys that work their butt off and never get to the level they deserve to be. So when you see a couple of them that do, it's very satisfying.
Well, you just talked about how it's a big place down there at NXT. Is there any room for the Kingdom in NXT?
You know what? Wrestling is one of those businesses where you never say never. So who knows? Who knows what the future holds? I'm not Cleo, and I do not run a telephone service that will tell you the future. So I'm probably not the person to ask for that. So
okay.
That's the answer to that question.
All right, well, without looking too far into the future, but, we're halfway through 2015, which has been a huge year for you so far. How would you like 2015 to maybe end for Matt Taven?
Well, this Friday on Internet Pay-Per-View, Ring of Honor Wrestling is going to have an pay-per-view coming from Baltimore, Maryland, where you will see the Kingdom in a match for the Ring of Honor World Tag Titles. And, I love adding things to my resume and adding the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships and being one step away from being a Ring of Honor Triple Crown champion. I think is my goal. That is the closest to coming true at the moment.
All right.
Well, we obviously want to thank you for coming on today. People can see you live at Northeast Wrestling. You've got several big shows coming up, but if they haven't listened to this is the first time maybe that they're hearing from Matt Taven. Where can they keep track of you, like Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff?
Well, if they haven't listened to this, then you need to plug your own stuff after I'm done plugging mine.
That's right.
Oh, but it's pretty easy to find me as long as you can spell Matt Taven and you can know how to pronounce Taven and realize that there's no R in it, because only a dummy would say Matt Tavern, which seems to happen a lot. But Taven is spelled Taden, and if you don't know how to spell that, I'll send someone over to hit you in the face with a tack hammer. And if you can spell that, you can find me anywhere. Facebook / Matt Taven, Twitter at Matt Taven, Instagram is the Matt Taven, at Taven is Taven, and Taven. Did I say Taven yet? Oh, my Gmail is mattaven@gmail if you need merchandise or anything like that. So learn how to spell Taven, and you'll find me.
Great. Well, Matt, once again, thank you for joining us. We wish you nothing but the best, and we'll see you soon in a ring near you.
Thank you, guys. It's glad to be back on, and it's very nice chatting with you, and I think I'll see you in a week or two, right?
That's right.
Absolutely.